The French cuirassiers were the heavy cavalry and had fierce reputation in battle. Said to eat cannonballs for breakfast, they were recruited for their big, strong physique, mainly from farming stock. A popular myth emphasized their meaningless. Officers were given 3 horses, 3 bottles of champagne, and 3 willing girls. They had 3 hours to kill the champagne, cover the girls, and ride 20-mile course. Of course, they could choose their own schedule of events. Here I just wonder why cover the girls, because they supposed to uncover the girls. Anyway, I found this on Enniskillen Regimental Museum. They don't have any link to prove existence of such myth, but it's good source of reference anyway. Before we dive into modeling, I want to tell you about who is Cuirassiers, what their swords are, and give a brief history review. Only a couple of minutes. It's important to understand how this sword was made, what goal it pursued, and what idea behind every element of this sword. But most importantly, I should be sure this video is long enough for me draw. So Cuirassiers were cuirassiers. Direct translation from French means one with cuirass. This type of regiment came from knights, who were equipped not only with cuirasses but full armor. Throughout history they gradually used less protection, and in some cases they didn't use it at all. Firstly, they freed right glove to reload pistol easier, and then stopped using the gloves at all. Protection for shoulders was abandoned too, I think for better mobility. Talking about legs, combination of short sets plus QZs changed into long sets plus nothing. Greaves and sabatons replaced by boots. I can name 2 reasons why full armor disappeared. Firstly, due to spread of firearms, plate armor became less effective, especially in short distance. But I don't think it's the main reason, because everybody on battlefield would like to have as much protection as possible. But it's impossible for army in modern era. Knights in full armor were landowners, the wealthiest people of their time, and maybe now too. They can spend as much money as they can to protect themselves, but a new army was recruited and equipped by means of treasury. The government liked to optimize their spending, so they left the most crucial part of armor, which provides protection for body and head. And talking about head, most heavy cavalry from 1700 to 1785 wore heads instead of helmets, and only in the 2 first decades of 19th century helmets came back. I found equipment of modern soldiers familiar. I just wonder, can government provide more protection for limbs today? The main weapon of horsemen always was lance, until infantry take pikes. Horses can't rush into army through pikes. I heard only winged hussars managed to fight with longer lances than pikes, but I'm not sure. Anyway, bullets are longer than pikes, so cavalry used pistols as a main weapon. They used a clerical tactic to constantly shoot enemies. This was very effective until enemies started to shoot back, and cavalry take secondary place in army. But Napoleon proved their efficiency, so they existed all in 19th and even 20th century to World War I, where of course they could do nothing with rifles and other modern weapons. In Napoleonic Wars, on the other hand, guns was quite goofy. Bullets didn't fly straight, so close combat was inventable. Here we can finally talk about Cuirassier Sword. Their sword was designed to thrust a poor opponent on the ground, while Cuirassiers ride horses. Swords were long, thin and bad in cut. It's a combination of a sword and lances. But why just use lances, you may ask? Firstly, cavalry already use them, and secondary swords are easier to handle. Let's back to Enniskillen Regimental Museum website and read about sword more. The straight spear point blade was a double fullerite and measured 38 and 1/4 inches. 1 3/8 inches. Cuirassiers are the reason why I don't understand what it means. Napoleon created unified measurement system in Europe. For everybody who don't live in the greatest country of the world, United Kingdom, the blade length is 971 and 5 mm by 35 mm. It was made to a very high uniform standard, and each blade was checked by government reviseur overseen by contrôleur. For English-speaking people it means reviseur and contrôleur. They stamped the blades with their marks, poinçons. Poinçon is a French word for stamps. Here we can see marks L and B. I found what it means. Francois Louis Lapstein, who worked in Kelin Gethel Arsenal, making weapons with L to denote quality control during the First Empire. These small round stamps were applied by various inspectors for acceptance, often alongside with letter K and B, Krantz and Big. On photo we can see two marks, that means this sword was tested twice by Lobstein and Big. On completion, the back of the blade was engraved with a cursive right, Manufacture Impériale du Klingethal Juvenile 1814. I'm pretty sure I made every mistake possible here, but French people in that period couldn't do better anyway. In 1802 it was decided that 50% of the blade would be sent to the Nicolas Bontet armor factory in Versailles, Paris, to have the hilt fitted. I always thought Versailles is a separate settlement, because there no reason why French king moved from Paris to another Paris. The scabbard was made from sheet iron with a mouthpiece designed to focus the blade and secure it in the place. The drag or foot of the scabbard was lyre-shaped. That sounds very beautiful, lyre-shaped. Anyway, each scabbard was stamped with an individual rack number. This number will be normally the same as the sword rack number. In Skillen Regimental Museum, sword and scabbard have different numbers. I guess this Desailly sword has a long story and different honors. I started with the blade. Cuirassier Sword has double fuller. I just moved vertices up and down, extruded few times and used bevels to create it. I didn't think a lot about typology, because after smooth make everything alright. The fuller, by the way, makes a sword lighter, and I guess a double fuller makes it double lighter. The blade is only one-edged, and because of this it's quite steady. At least steadier than it will be double-edged and double fuller. The sword getting pointed at the end. To achieve this I just used proportional editing. The handle has spiral form for better contact. I used a native Blender add-on Bolt Factory, adjusted size and made a curve on the back side. In order to hide ugly bolt point, I just covered it with a ring. The ring is supposed to be there, by the way. The guard has very beautiful and unique form, but I guess it's still called a half basket. It protects the hand from front and right side. Not good for duels because of these holes, but quite suitable for needs of cavalry. The complex shape like this is easier to separate into different parts and use sculpting and stand modeling. I started with the main part of the hilt, used some division surface to create a leaf form, then added cylinder for pommel and created basket with simple curves. To merge every element together and created a melted metal effect, I used a remesh modifier, then played with sculpting. Remesh didn't make a good smooth topology, the only way to fix it is retopology. Quad remesher did it for me, and that's how I managed to create a hilt and a sword was ready for materials. Talking about materials, I simply used photo texture. It's simple and the best way to achieve realism. There are nothing special about it, but marks were quite tricky to do. Firstly, I made textures in Infinity, then used them as mask in texture painting. This quite simple task took me about an hour and more, because I am not really familiar with texture paint and everything went wrong, but somehow I handled it. Well, that is all. I'm happy to tell you about Cuirassier Sword. I really like it, mainly for gorgeous, elegant hilt. Unfortunately, you can't donate me right now, but like is quite enough. See you later.